Hey folks, Dusty here. Today I wanted to do a little introduction to something that I haven't really seen on YouTube at all regarding homesteading. I've seen all types of content out there, everything from equipment to building to harvesting to planting, taking care of animals, butchering. One thing that I haven't come across personally is homestead finances. So I wanted to start a small series on homestead finances. So this will be part one, kind of an overview, and then hopefully I'll get into some other stuff. I've got a couple other videos already planned. So hopefully this will take off and a lot of people will find interest in it. So like I said, this is kind of an overview of all the different things that you need to consider. If I end up missing something, just let me know in the comments. If there's something else you want more specific information on, maybe I can help. So this is basically a list of categories and some examples of some things you need to plan for to accurately estimate and tabulate your true farm costs and incomes. Now I gotta say, I am not an accountant or an attorney, of course. So please seek professional advice for your specific situation as needed. This is just an overview of things that should be considered. Not all of these will apply to every person with every situation or location. So what are your needs? What are your wants? What makes the most sense when? Will your investments into these pay off? If so, how quickly will they pay off? Is it best to invest or save? We'll look at all these things in this series. A lot of people don't realize all of the ins and outs of farming or homesteading from a business perspective, which is why I wanted to do this series. In order to be successful in farming or homesteading, you need to have a decent understanding of the financial side of things as well as the day-to-day tasks and workings of the farm. By understanding some of the basic principles of accounting and the legal aspect of things, it will greatly improve the chances of your farm or homestead being successful long term. We all understand the main costs, livestock purchasing, feed costs, and most consider end processing costs. But what else should we consider? Things like infrastructure, barns, coops, chicken tractors, pens, fences, feed, water troughs, maintenance costs on those things, etc., etc. Equipment. Do we need a tractor, a four-wheeler, a side-by-side implement, such as seeders, plows, or balers? Most of this will be scale-based needs, but a tractor, for example, can be used for any size operation to do anything from snow removal to moving heavy round bales of hay to lot clearing, etc. If you plan to butcher on site, a fork or bucket attachment will be incredibly useful for any medium to large animals. Livestock purchasing. Buying baby chicks or bottle calves and raising them to the time when they are ready to produce will increase your holding costs because you need to house, feed, and care for them from day one before they start producing. Consider things like brooding. Will you need to provide any heat to raise your young livestock? Brooder lights or calf blankets are some things you need to account for financially. What about shipping or delivery costs? Will you be picking up your animals or have them delivered? Either way, you will want to account for the cost. If you do plan to pick them up, do you have a way to properly transport them? If not, maybe you can rent or barter with another homesteader to get it taken care of. Just remember to account for those types of things as well. Feed. This one is obvious, but you will also want to consider any supplements as well, and any extras that will vary by season, and whether or not your animals will have access to adequate pasture or not. Don't forget to plan for the unexpected wet or dry season also, because these will drastically affect your potential need to purchase from an outside source. Bedding. Things like straw, wood shavings, sawdust, bark, etc. will need to be provided based on what animals you own and what type of environment they are in. Keep in mind that these costs will vary throughout the year as well, as shortages may arise due to reallocation of resources to help in areas that may have been hit by inclement weather and natural disasters. What about processing? Will you be processing animals yourself or hiring it out? Either way, there will be an associated cost. If you do it yourself, you will need a place to handle everything, equipment for butchering, chicken pluckers, poultry bags, ice, large coolers, bone saws, meat wrapping paper, etc. Perhaps you will solicit help from friends or family. Will you be paying them or sharing some of the products? Keep those costs in mind. Another thing to consider is marketing. If you're keeping all of your products for your own personal use, you probably don't have to worry about this. But if you sell at a farmer's market or at a roadside stand, you may have some expense associated with signage, perhaps a farm logo, design fee, advertising, etc. Most farmers markets will have fees associated for booth space, and some require you to have liability insurance before you're eligible to be a vendor. Depending on what you're offering, these liability insurance policies and costs will vary greatly. Some farmers markets will charge by the season or year, and some by the day. Look at these options and see what is the most appropriate and cost-effective approach for you. Keep in mind that you may need to provide your own tables, chairs, table coverings, tents, etc. Some will have electric available, which you may want to consider if you have items that need to be refrigerated. And of course, that usually has an added cost associated with it. And what about accepting payments? Most often, you will see a 3% fee or thereabouts if you want to accept credit cards. If you use apps like Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, etc., they may charge a percentage depending on how you set up your account, or if your customer states that they are buying from a business or not. And on top of that, new IRS laws will affect you if you receive more than $599 from any single individual over the course of a year, which seems like a lot, until you start selling items to repeat customers. A couple dozen organic, pasture-raised eggs each week can put you in the neighborhood of $500 to $600 easily, without even adding any other products on. And then there's sales tax. Do the items you produce and sell technically put you in the realm of sales tax? Be careful. Another aspect to consider is if your farmer's market is in a city, the city may tax your income that you make at that farmer's market as well, regardless of where you live. Earlier, I mentioned holding costs, but that was for raising animals up until the point that they start to produce for you. For this, I mean if you process animals, or even milk, butter, cheese, or bake bread to take to market, or anything, you will need to ensure that it is properly handled, refrigerated, frozen, etc. Will you need an extra fridge or freezer at the house? What about the added electrical costs for operating those over several weeks or year-round? Brooding costs. Many young animals will need extra heat depending on your housing and weather conditions. If you run brooder lights or heaters, there will be added costs for that as well. You may even want to heat your whole barn depending on how many animals you're brooding and if it makes more sense, based on your needs and climate. If so, you need to account for those costs. Product delivery costs. This is for your finished products. Will you be delivering the hay you produce to your customers? Or will you have a weekly drop-off routine for eggs, milk, vegetables, etc.? This will cause wear and tear on your vehicle and, of course, fuel costs. Keep this in mind and keep track of all of it. And this one will probably be everyone's favorite. Regulations or inspection costs. This may or may not apply depending on your location, but you definitely need to be aware of what requirements you should be following if you choose to sell to the general public. You may be required to have a farm business set up as well, such as an LLC or an S Corp, which will likely require some form of insurance for liability purposes. If you plan to have anyone pick up items on your property, be especially careful, because if they trip and fall on ice or get attacked by your aggressive rooster, they can and will sue you for damages. You have to remember to protect your assets just in case an accident occurs. It may be in your best interest to hire a qualified attorney to put together some legal documents to protect you and your family in such an event. Some good options may be an LLC, LLP, S Corp, or trust, or a combination of some of the above. Also, hire a good tax accountant who is familiar with farm businesses. As your farm grows, you may want someone part-time year-round to handle your finances. No matter who does it, keep accurate records of all of your expenses and earnings. Keeping all of those categorized is a great idea as well, because some expenses can be written off immediately and some will be taken over time. This will really affect your bottom line and your overall farm or homestead's sustainability. Of course, all of these items have associated costs with them. Something a lot of people don't consider is your time investment. Most of us homesteaders or farmers thoroughly enjoy what we do, but that doesn't mean there is no cost for us to do that work. If you put 30 hours a week in on your farm, is there a value to that? Yes, of course there is. Keep in mind that you could be working and earning money on that same 30 hours somewhere else. Now, you can place your time value based on that, but it may not be a one-for-one exchange rate. But it is something to consider. Also, if you miss work for a day due to harvesting before a storm comes in, or a sick animal that needs your care, that's an additional cost as well, due to loss of wages. Or, if you need to be out of town for a few days and need to hire a farm sitter. Perhaps you get injured and need to hire someone, temporary or day work. All costs to be considered and documented thoroughly. Along with all of that, you can't forget vet costs. Of course, these will vary and hopefully be kept low, but one visit from a vet can really cut into your profits quickly. Also, if you plan to have your animals bred through either AI or visitation hours, make sure you have those costs planned out ahead of time and keep track of them well. Keep in mind that those results can vary. One session doesn't pay off, you may need to do it a second or third time, and there will be costs associated with it every time. So that's just a brief overview of some of the things that you should consider when it comes to homestead financial planning. If there's any categories that I missed or anything that you feel should be included, let me know in the comments. If you learned anything, let me know what you found helpful. In the future, I'm going to be working on some spreadsheets and worksheets to help you assess all of the costs that you may run into when starting or growing your homestead or farm business. I'll be doing videos of these once I get them together so I can share them with you as well. By being prepared, you can establish a healthy, sustainable, farm-based business for your family's future and watch it grow to maximum efficiency at whatever size you'd like it to be. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, folks. As always, take the trip and enjoy the ride.